Okay, everybody. Said I was going to make this video a long time ago, and I did try, but after making 7 or 8 short videos, piecing them together, something happened and it all got deleted. So I didn't want to have to do all that again. It took me a long time to do it, but I figure now I should probably get it done. So as you know, and you've probably seen either on the forums or on Facebook, this is my 97 Explorer XLT, 5-liter, 2-wheel drive. I've lowered it 2.5 inches. It's got 2-inch blocks in the back. I did a key flip up front, but since then I've got rid of that because I had some problems with it. So about 2 inches, I suppose, that I've lowered it. I've got the stock wheels on it now. You've probably seen the pictures of the 20s I had on it, and I would love to go back to 20s. I really like the look of the 20s, but they're just so heavy and expensive. I sold the ones that I had to pay for some parts for the turbo setup. So anyhow, I'm looking for some 10-inch wide, 15 by 10 inch wheels, front and back. Well, front won't be 10s, but they'll probably be 8-inch wide, 10s in the back. Anyhow, I was wanting to cover everything that I've done on this in parts, and kind of explain in part what exactly I did, what it took to get it to this point, to have a top mount turbo. Of course, there are several remote mount or rear mount, whatever you want to call it, turbo Explorers, which is basically where you take out the muffler and maybe put the turbo where the muffler is, or the turbo somewhere under the vehicle, so you can keep your factory manifolds, keep everything up here looks factory, in your turbo, with oil lines and a pump and all that is under the vehicle. But I wanted to do a top mount. At the time I didn't know of any other Explorers with a top mount turbo or a turbo setup like this. I have seen a couple people that have been working on them. I'm not sure if they're finished yet. I don't know whatever happened to them. They kind of just stopped talking about it. Stopped posting about it. So anyway, let's get on to this. All right, so first thing I did, if you're familiar with the V8 Explorers, the 2nd generation Explorers, you'll know, of course, this intake is not factory, of course. You can look up some pictures of a factory intake, or I'll just add one into the video here. But basically what I did was I wanted something, because I knew I was going to do a turbo eventually, so I went ahead and got a bigger intake and started setting things up the way I wanted to do it once I got the turbo completed. So what I did here, of course, remove the old factory intake. This intake is a Parker funnel web. You can look those up. It's a carbureted intake, but it also has ports. You used to be able to get them pre-drilled 4 injectors. You can see those injectors there. Those are 42-pound Bosch. You used to be able to get them pre-drilled. I haven't seen them that way for a while. So this one was drilled out for the injectors. I've got some Aeromotive fuel rails there, as you can see. You know, nothing crazy about that. AN fittings and lines. Pretty basic fuel setup there. This intake, where normally the carburetor would bolt on here, I got this throttle body elbow from Edelbrock. And basically what that does, it as you can see, it bolts on to where the carburetor would normally bolt on, and then allows you to bolt a throttle body, which is here, onto the front of it for a fuel injected setup. This throttle body is actually a GM 92 millimeter LS6 throttle body. There's several companies that sell them. Jegs sells one branded by them like this. Holley sells one branded by them. You know, they pretty much all come from the same place. But anyhow, so 92 millimeter throttle body there. It has a GM throttle position sensor, which is simply wired into, pull it up here, the factory Ford, the Explorer throttle position sensor wires. See if I can pull this out here and I'll show you how it's wired up. So basically on my 97 Explorer 302, I've got the original black wire going to the brown wire from the GM plug. That's the GM plug. So black wire to the brown wire. Then I have, let's see, the orange wire from the original Ford harness going up to the gray wire. And then the green wire goes to the purple wire. And that's it. And those are, sorry it's not focusing here, but those are all spliced together and soldered. All the wires are soldered together. So that's how I got the throttle position sensor to work. The throttle cable, now you can buy a throttle cable from anywhere really that would work with this, that attaches to your pedal and then comes through the firewall, attaches here, and then of course when you put your throttle down, this is what turns and opens the throttle body. What I did, this is the original Ford cable all the way to the pedal. This is some 3/8 airline that I had for some an airbag setup I did. Some compression fittings that fit into this bracket. This bracket came with this elbow and it fit in this bracket, and pretty much that's all I did to get that to work. Cut the cable to length and then just put a crimp on the end to keep it from pulling through. And I put the firewall end of that, it's hard, probably can't see it, but at the firewall end of this cable I also used the compression fitting to hold it to the firewall. But that's it. Now to be able to get this intake to sit this way, now normally the coil packs are mounted up here, and of course with those there I wouldn't have room for my fuel lines from my rails. I wouldn't have room for all this throttle body and everything set the way it is. So just relocated that to the back, and just so happens that the holes in this bracket here is the original one that was up front. I just had to trim the bottom off of it. There's some feet that hang down. I just cut those off. But these holes here, and here are actually the same width as where the studs are for this elbow. So it pretty much just set right down on there, bolted down. I had to extend the wiring. It goes here on each coil here and on the other side. The harness, it normally comes up here and plugs in. So I just cut here and extended from, added some wire so it would come back here. Now I'm sure I could open this harness up, the original harness, and then just pull those wires back. I'm sure the wires are long enough, so you could do that. But, you know, just to make it quick, I just extended the wires so these plugs will be back here, and I could plug my coil packs in.